Good morning, Neil here with the Off the Net Radio Show and my series Who's Who in Santa Cruz. Here with my good friend, the MG. Oh, no, not the MG. My good friend Jim Lucas, who owns the MG. And we're going to do the interview from the MG this morning. So, welcome to the Off the Net Radio Show and Who's Who in Santa Cruz and my dear friend, Mr. Jim Lucas. All right, Jim.
Good morning, Neil.
Yeah, baby. Oh!
Can you fit in there?
Oh, yeah. All right. So I don't need to look at the camera, but I want to talk about the books. You've written 2 books here, right?
Yes. So there's one. That's the first one,
Okay. Waves are Calling.
and then the second one. It's the second in the series.
Okay.
Mountains to the East.
Mountains to the East.
So the first one is when the protagonist is in high school.
Okay.
Second one is when he's in college.
Okay.
And I'm working on the third one
What's
right
the
now.
third one going to be?
Third one is when he's this California surfer boy.
Yeah.
He gets a job, and he's doing his doctorate in St. Albans, landlocked Vermont.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Is that you?
No. In fact, my wife Patty said, "Why didn't you just call it the autobiography of Jim Lucas?"
It didn't fit on the page.
She said my picture wouldn't fit because my head's too big.
Would anybody buy it?
Right, if it was me.
Right? It's just you and your family would buy one.
Exactly.
So just give me a short synopsis on what the 2 books are about.
All right, so Waves Are Calling, it opens, it's kind of historical fiction as well. So it's Christmas break of 1967.
Yeah.
And the protagonist, Nick Bridger, is home from prep school back east.
Okay.
His dad is, this engineer in the embryonic stages of Silicon Valley. And he says, my son's got to have a proper East Coast schooling. And the kid hates it. And he's from California, so he's ridiculed by his classmates. He's ridiculed by his teachers. And he keeps getting kicked out of these prep schools. His grades are phenomenal, but he's a wise ass, right? And so he gets kicked out of these schools. And so he's home on break in his sophomore year, Christmas break of 67, December 67. And his mom drops him off at one of his childhood friends' beach places at Pleasure Point.
Oh, really?
His friend takes him out surfing.
Yeah.
So the first time they're at Insides. They call it 38th Avenue now, but we used to call it Insides. And it's like maybe a chest eye day, and he gets massacred. And it's just going, screw this surfing stuff. You know, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
And so then the next day the swell has dropped a little bit, and so his friend takes him out to Pidley's. They're between Sewer Peak and so he takes him out there. It's a little tiny break. He catches his first wave. He's hooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Isn't everybody hooked to catch the first wave?
When they catch their first wave, exactly. Yeah. If you could bottle that feeling, that'd be the greatest drug in the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
and it's free.
Exactly.
Right.
That's which is why I like surfing over skiing.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for a lift ticket to go out every wave you catch. Anyway, so he gets hooked on surfing, but he's going to prep school and all of this. Finally, his senior year, he gets to go to his school, and he goes to Saratoga High School, which is where, that's where I graduated from. So that's why my wife thought it was an autobiography.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so happy ending. He gets accepted to Coast College, which happens to be in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And so that's that. So he gets there, and that's where he wanted to go. Mountains to the East. This is the second one. He's in college.
Yeah.
This is like at the height of Vietnam. So the draft and all of that kind of stuff. And so they take away his student deferment. He's a full-time student. It's just, and they did that to me.
Yeah.
They took away my student deferment, and they did it to my buddy as well. And so he gets drafted. And so he has a professor that's counseling him on, okay, you have to say this, you have to say this.
Yeah.
And so he delays it long enough to where they did away with the draft, which is what they did in January 1973. So he barely escapes the draft. Anyway, so I don't want to give away the ending, but
no, not give away the ending.
He does. It's not a good ending.
Okay.
And
That's mountain to the east.
mountains to the
And
east.
waves are calling.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your wrestling career?
So
Jim's a renowned wrestler.
So I was going to be the fifth Beatle. I was a rock and roll guitarist, right?
Who was the fifth Beatle? That was what was his name?
Well, you've got Brian
played-
Epstein, their manager, but
Yeah.
you had Billy Preston.
Billy Preston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I went to all three Beatles concerts in San Francisco.
And they were short. They're only 45 minutes long, correct?
33.
33 minutes.
33 minutes. And look I'm getting goosebumps thinking
Yeah.
about it, man. It was just, and so the first two were at the Cow Palace, and I loved those. The last one was at Cow Palace, at Candlestick. It just didn't have the intimacy of the Cow Palace.
Right.
But, whatever. So I'm going to be this rock and roll star. Christmas, my freshman year in high school, my brother gives me a Christmas present, and he is 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
My brother Cy, and he had a surf shop in Santa Cruz and the whole thing. By the way, Cy is quote unquote the wrestler of the family. He was in the '68 Olympic trials and the '72 Olympic
Your brother?
trials. My
Yeah.
brother Cy. So I have this package for Christmas for my brother, and I open it up, and I'm just going, "What are these?" He goes, "Those are wrestling shoes." Well, what do I need these for? So the next day or whatever, he says, "Put on some gym trunks and a t-shirt." He takes me to my high school,
Yeah.
and so everybody knew about Cy because he was like the premier wrestler in the area. Goes up to the wrestling coach at my high school and says, "This is my little brother Jim. He's on your team." I'm just going, "What?" I was terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. And then he keeps on taking me to these freestyle tournaments all spring and all summer. Then my sophomore year, I make varsity, first string varsity, and I beat a senior to become first string varsity. I win about half my matches.
Yeah.
And I was going, "Yeah, okay, so what?" And I'm full of myself.
Right.
I want to have my matches, big deal. And then, and I kept on wrestling in the spring and the summertime, these tournaments, and Los Gatos Wrestling Club was the big team at the time. And so then my junior year, I go undefeated in dual matches, and but I screw up in league championships, and I take a second. I go to CCS, but it's just pitiful, right? And I don't do well. And so then I'm hell-bent my senior year in high school. Undefeated, league,
You're on a
regionals.
mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CCS, state meet. I
Mhm.
have 102 temperature.
Yeah.
My second match is against the returning state champion. This guy hasn't lost in 2 years. This guy, he's like 5'4"
Yeah.
by 5'4". Okay, and he's like an inverted pyramid.
Yeah.
And
You took one look at him and go,
I'm just going, "Oh my God!" I beat him 9-1.
you did?
And then I wrestle this guy from Novato, and he beats me 6-4. And then I go into consolations. I win my next match, but I am just sucking it by this time.
You spent.
And so I lose. I end up with a fourth in the state, but because of what I had done, I have all of these scholarship offers from colleges all over the place. But I take it to San Jose State because they've got a good head coach and stuff. So I go on to wrestle at San Jose State, full ride, San Jose State, 4-year varsity, 3-time All-PCAA. And then make the 76 Olympic trials, miss out.
76 Olympic trials?
Yeah, and so I miss out,
Yeah.
and I'm just going, okay. And I retire from wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I go full on into surfing,
Yeah.
and stuff. But then in 1996, my 6th grade son goes out for wrestling at Shoreline Middle School.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we get a notice, and Nathan Cross was the principal at the time, and he knew my wrestling background. They do away with the wrestling program because we have no coach. I call him up. I go, "Nathan,
Right.
you got to have a program. This is the first sport my son's ever gone out for."
Right.
And
So you became coach?
so he makes me coach.
Yeah.
And so then after the season, I take the team to a freestyle tournament. So we get there, and so then the kids say, "Well, coach, you have to wrestle too." I go, "Oh, no. I'm just go, no, you have to. You said we have to."
Yeah.
I win the tournament.
You do?
And
Yeah.
so all of these college guys are going, "Coach, could you just wrestle in the Masters division and not embarrass us in front of our girlfriends? And so then I continued to do that. I got involved in wrestling again,
Yeah.
and I went on, 7-time national champion, world champion. What I was most proud of,
What's your weight division?
So most of the time I was wrestling at what was it, 69 kilos,
Okay.
152. Then in 2006 I dropped to 63
Yeah,
kilos,
yeah.
138. That was my wrestling weight when I was 1976.
Really?
I get a third in the world,
Yeah.
that year and stuff. But
Do you ever use your wrestling out in the? Ever use your wrestling in the lineup?
so
In the surf lineup?
funny thing,
Yeah.
I'm at the hook, and two guys are kind of getting into fisticuffs.
Right.
I'm going, guys, if you're going to fight, get away from the surf break because this will be bad things for surfing. Just you go. The guy comes after me, and so I'm just going, no. Like, I do a duck under. I pick him up by the waist, and then my hand goes between his legs, and I lift him up.
Yeah.
Waist lock and between the legs. I take him over the cliff at the hook. I'm going, we don't want to fight, do we? The guy's just going, "Ah." And this guy's like 6 foot, 200 pounds and stuff, and it's just going, no. And then we've become best friends.
Okay, good.
So,
So you just retired as a teacher. Can you tell us how you became a teacher? Remember, one of the great Jim Lucas stories is probably when you worked for IBM.
well, I was working.
Was it IBM?
I worked for the semiconductor industries that supply chips to them
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So I worked for National Semiconductor, Integrated Device Technology, Toshiba, NEC, AMCC, MMC Networks, all of these semiconductor firms and stuff. And I was, senior vice president of corporate communications and stuff.
You're bigwig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm in Moscow, and the World Championships were in Latvia, and Russia is right next to Latvia.
Yeah.
I'm half Russian. My mom was born in Russia,
Okay.
and so I get a visa and I go into Russia, but I'm all by myself. Never do that. So I should have known something was amiss because I pretend I'm James Bond. I get the sleeper car and everything on the train, I'm going, yeah. So it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm sound asleep in my sleeper car. There's a boom, boom, boom on my door. Get out of bed, throw on a pair of pants, open up the door. There's two women. One that's in early 30s maybe. The other one is like older than dirt, right? And they've got like the olive green uniforms on and the little caps and stuff. And they're asking me for my passport. I go, oh, okay. And I get my passport, I give it to them, and they're looking at it, they're talking to each other. And they're just going, okay. The old lady goes away, and the other one says, hold on a second. They come back, and they've got two guys that are like huge, and they don't look happy.
Right.
The two women go away with my passport, and you never have anyone walk away with your passport.
No.
I step forward and go, look, these guys step forward.
Wow.
And they're right in my face. I'm going, hi guys. So they're gone about 5 minutes. They come back and the lady says, so what we're going to do, and she crosses out on my visa, my entrance day. Well, I was arriving in Moscow on, say, the 4th of August.
Yeah.
Well, it was 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
the 3rd of August. And they were going to drop me off at this train station.
Yeah.
By the way, there was not a hotel or anything around.
Right.
And the next train wasn't for 2 days.
Oh, shit.
There's Russia for you.
Yeah.
So she crossed out the 3rd and wrote the 4th and said, there you go. So I get into Russia and I'm having a good old time and stuff, just around my hotel. And then I want to go to the Kremlin. So I try to get to the Kremlin and I can't figure out what train to go and nobody's helping me in the train station. So I go up above and I've got this makeshift map and I'm trying to figure out, and I get to a point where the street signs aren't matching my map.
Yeah.
And so I see a cop, and so I walk over and I have my phrase book, and like I've been around Russians all my life. So I ask in Russian from my phrase book, how do I get to the Kremlin? The cop pulls out a gun. I am staring. This thing is 4 inches from my nose, and he is not smiling. And so I just kind of put up my hands and say sorry in Russian, and I slowly back away, slowly back away, slowly back away. Now, I've just wrestled in the World Championships.
Yeah.
I'm in the best shape of my life, right? I get to the corner, and I have never run so fast in my life. I get back to the train station, and it's like one of the Bourne Identity escalator things. You know, the thing is like vertical. I'm going 10 steps at a time down the escalator steps, you know, and my train is starting to take away, the stores are starting to close, and it's going
Yeah.
to take off. I dive through the doors. As they close, I peek up over the top of the
Yeah.
windows, and is the cop going to shoot me? Right? Get back. I asked the concierge what I've just said. He says, you've asked where the criminal is. I say, why did the cop pull a gun on me? And he's looking all around, scared, you know. He goes, Mr. Lucas, you go to church. And I'm going, what? He goes, when they pull out gun, they fire. You lucky.
Really? Oh
I'm
my
going,
God.
I go, why? What did I do?
Right.
And he looks around again, you know, and he's going, Moscow police, Russian mafia.
Oh shit.
So all the Moscow cops are Russian mafia. And I'm just going, holy crap. And so I finally get out. Oh, and to make it worse, I'm supposed to leave the next day. $300 cab ride to the airport. Get there. All the airports are closed down. They've closed them down. They've found some would-be terrorists in London, right? And they've closed down all of Europe because of this. They want to make sure they get all the things. I'm stuck there with an expired visa for 4 frickin' days.
At the station?
At the hotel.
At the-
Oh, and it was another $300 going back to
Yeah.
my hotel, and it was talking 5 levels up to finally get them to readmit me, because they're saying expired visa, we can't take you. And I'm just going, I was just here 4 days. Come
Right,
on, people.
Right.
So finally the top guy says, okay, I could lose my license, but I'll accept you. So so I get back, and they open up the airways, and the airlines. And
Patty
I'm-
picks you up at the airport.
yeah. Well, okay, one more thing,
Yeah.
one more side story. Okay, you know, Lucas, I got a zillion stories. So all of these terrorist things. So I'm sitting in the middle aisle of the airplane. There's a lady in the far left, empty seat, me in the middle, empty seat, and then this guy, and he's wearing like one of these hats that the Middle Easterners,
Yeah.
you know, wear, and he's got the long, scraggly beard. And so we take off on the flight, and his screen, you know how you can watch movies,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then every now and then you look and say, oh, where are we?
Yeah.
And so all he is looking at is where the plane is. Well, these would-be terrorists, that's what they were watching. And then, because they were going to blow up the planes when they got,
Yeah.
you know, in the middle. And so that's all this guy is watching, is that. And my mind,
He's thinking that's a terrorist.
this is a terrorist.
Mhm.
And he gets up with his phone, and he goes into the bathroom. And so I pull up the arm seat, and I'm going to put my arm up like I'm resting like this. And when he sits down, I'm going to chin whip him and break his neck. And because I'm in top physical shape.
Right.
And so I'm all set through. I'm about ready to break this guy's neck, maybe kill him, right?
Right.
The guy turns around and says, whoa, dude, do you know how to feel? The guy's from LA. I almost killed this guy. Anyway, all right, so we get home. Patty picks me up at the airport, and we're driving back home. And during this whole trip, I'm just going, you know what? I'm not enjoying my corporate life anymore.
Yeah.
I enjoy coaching.
Right.
Patty's been a teacher, you know, she's at Gateway, you know,
Right.
25 years or whatever. And I want to become a teacher.
Yeah.
And so we're driving. I tell Patty, while she's driving, I go, I'm going to become a teacher.
I'm going to quit my job.
Probably should have waited till we got home, right? And so that was it. And I decided to become a teacher. And so we get home, and she goes, okay, Mr., you know, wrestler, champion, and all that, get a job.
Yeah.
And so my first year was up at Pescadero.
Yeah.
And they had an opening. He goes, you don't have your credential. I can't hire you. But get your CBEST, and you'll be a long-term sub, and I guarantee you'll work every single day
Right.
in this small district. And that's what I did. And I worked from preschool. I did kindergarten for 3 weeks. Knew that was not my calling. Did a lot of middle school, and
Yeah.
then did high school. And I
Yeah.
knew that high
At
school
Pescadero?
up in Pescadero. And so when I knew that this truly was my calling,
Yeah.
Bethany University was still going up in Scotts Valley.
Yeah.
So I went to Bethany and I condensed a 2-year program into a year and 1 semester.
Yeah.
And so I got my master's / credential and interviewed all around. And I was going to be hired at Aptos, but the principal, Pancho at Pajaro Valley High School,
Yeah.
was on the interview committee for Aptos. And he calls me up and says, I'd like to talk with you about Pajaro Valley High School, before you make a commitment to
Right.
Aptos. So I go down there and I talk with him. I walk around the campus. I talk with some students who are hanging around and stuff. And I fall in love with it,
Did
the
you?
whole thing.
Yeah.
And Pancho was fantastic.
Right,
you know,
right.
he's just going, I said, well, what's the protocol? What do I have to teach by when? And he says, teach whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the kids are doing well on their standardized tests, as long as they're learning and they're doing well, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And that's the environment that I excelled at
Yeah.
in my corporate life.
Yeah.
And so I went to work there, and my students did fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, they worked their butts off.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing a novel a quarter. We were writing, 2 essays a week, and many of these guys had never written an essay
Yeah.
in their life,
Yeah.
right? And we had a blast.
Yeah,
we had
good.
a blast. Work hard, play hard.
Yeah. So there's two British cars I know that have 3 windshield wipers. Because in England, the car has to have 3 windshield wipers because it rains so much.
Right?
But this car, MG, and what else? What's the other car? An XKE has 3 windshield wipers as well.
The windshield wipers.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has 3.
And there's no intermittent.
No, you don't need it. You don't.
Yeah.
In England, you don't need intermittent.
There's no
'cause it rains
intermittent.
like a mofo.
It's on
It's
Or it's on high.
It pours.
or it's not on at all.
Okay, my one final question for you for in the interview. What might end the interview is, please, Jim, tell me what your favorite Marianne's ice cream flavor is. Your
Double Dutch fudge.
Never heard of that one before, but that sounds pretty damn good. That concludes the interview in the MG with Mr. Jim Lucas. I got out of it. Yeah.
Oh, hey, those books are available at Two Birds Books and on 41st Avenue.
Perfect. Say that again.
So the novels are available at Two Birds Books on 41st Avenue and in Amazon.
Thanks, Jim.